When love has the courage to break that tradition in a world of power, hierarchy, and fixed gender roles, how does it pan out in an imperial world, set in the glamour as well as the unscrupulous court of the Chinese Han Dynasty? This man in the obscurity rose to the very center of the emperor himself. His name was Dong Xian, a military officer and favorite of the royal, and because of this, many believe he was a lover of Emperor Ai. It is an account of love, power, and scandal, and at last a downfall so sudden that even the most experienced courtiers were astonished. Dong Xian was a male concubine, or was he anything else more? Why did his love affair have to end disgracefully in suicide? The world that Dong Xian lived in must be understood in order to understand about his rise and fall. One of the golden ages of China was the Han Dynasty, 206 BCE to 220 CE. It was an era of cultural splendor and political intrigue in nations with huge expanses of land, Confucian bureaucracy, and booming trade along the Silk Road. This, however, was also a world of rigid social roles. The emperor was supreme. His authority was almost godly. There was a network of ministers, generals, eunuchs, and scholars below him, all eager to curry favor. The court was a serpent pit, and friends were as fatal as foes. In this world was born Dong Xian. Dong Xian was born into a lowly background. His early life is mostly unknown, since he was born in the present-day Shandong province. He was neither born in power, nor was he well-connected. All he had was charm, military ability, and the attention of the emperor. Later on, around 13 BCE, he got into the imperial court, where he somehow attracted the attention of Emperor Ai of Han, who had ascended to power at the rather tender age of 20. The relationship between Dong and the emperor was direct and strong. According to historical sources, especially referring to the Book of Han, Han Shu, the two men grew inseparable. Not only did Emperor Ai raise Dong to high positions very fast, but he also provided him with privileges and titles that even courtiers who had worked long in the court found shocking. It took Dong Xian just several years to pass the way from a lowly palace officer to commander of the imperial guards, which was one of the most influential military posts in the empire. This was a purely political, meteoric rise. According to the ancient sources, there was a close relationship. Before we proceed with the topic of the downfall of Dong, an insight into the fact that same-sex was not a new thing in ancient China is important. Although confidence in Confucian teachings focuses on marriage and family descent, they recorded and at times permitted personal relations of the male species. Dong Xian and Emperor Ai caused the term the passion of the cut sleeve, Duan Shu, to become famous. The emperor supposedly slept with Dong Xian on one night. The emperor, waking up, found Dong sleeping on the broad sleeve of his imperial robe. Instead of waking his lover up, the emperor cut his own sleeve with a knife. This act of male ardor would, over the centuries to come, be used to represent male love in Chinese literature. Love in the imperial court was always a perilous game. By the year 1 BCE, Dong Xian had become very powerful. Not only was he the commander of the guards, but he was also left in charge of making decisions concerning the state and military appointees, as well as the affairs in the palace. His family and he lived in luxury houses close to the emperor, and they shared the same benefits. The unregulated power led to resentments at the court. Elite ministers grumbled of corruption, favoritism, and the peril of concentrated rule by one non-elected person. He was viewed to have risen through the ranks too fast, and this was disgraceful to the Han bureaucracy's meritocratic system. It was felt that his familiarity with the emperor was going beyond all decent margins and jeopardizing the realm. And behind their smooth smiles, the courtiers plotted. The last stroke was not a stroke of intrigue, but of mortality. In 1 BCE, in the summer months, Emperor Ai succumbed to serious illness. He was 25 years old. When he had just died, he attempted to put Dong Xian in charge by giving the supreme authority to the seized imperial seal, which would have placed Dong in the most powerful place in China. But he never came again. With the death of the emperor, the power balance changed at once. Empress Dowager Fu, who was the mother of the emperor and the grandmother of the emperor, grabbed the leadership. She considered Dong Xian a shameful person and intruder. In a few days, Dong Xian was denied all titles, and his land was confiscated. No trial was made, no hearing, nothing but an order. Dong Xian was told to take his own life. He obeyed, and in fact, there are some sources that say that his wife committed suicide with him. He was in his 20s. His once clothed body lay in disgrace, covered with the body of silk. Did Dong Xian work as a male concubine, a lover, or just an imperial politics scapegoat? We know this, that his familiarity with Emperor Ai violated the conventions of a very strict society. His quick rise in the ranks disrupted the balance of the court politics. When the emperor passed away, the protection of Dong Xian also went with him. His tragedy is not only the fact of his death, but also the viciousness of power. Love, which combined with influence, in the opinion of history, was a crime. The fate of Dong Xian became a lesson for anyone who came too close to the imperial sun. But his tale was still alive. The picture of a severed sleeve was a poetic reminder that though the world may hate love, it can create those tales that go on living even after the world rejects it. The story of Dong Xian is not just an old scandal. It is a story of weakness in the corridors of sheer authority. It falls about the depth into which love can endanger a robot whose mechanism is not labeled with any. It is also about a man who got elevated by the force of closeness, which is also the hand that destroyed him. What is your opinion? Was Dong Xian a political victim, a love victim, or both? Tell us below. Was this story eye-opening, very moving, or tragically beautiful? Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. History is full of voices that were not afraid to go against the expectations, and when they are not heard, sometimes they shout the most. That was it. Thank you. Thanks so much for watching and spending your time with us today. If you're here at the end, that means a lot. It shows you care about real stories, about history that still speaks to us. At Fathoming, we don't just tell old tales. We uncover the human moments behind the headlines, the forgotten voices, and the truths history sometimes tries to hide. If this story moved you, made you think, or taught you something new, give it a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and maybe hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks again for being here. Stay curious, stay kind, and until next time, keep fathoming the past with us.